conversation and communication is key. And I
Mm.
know that's really, really challenging because I struggle through communicating with my family members about what's really hurting me or what they've done that hurt me. But one of the things that I bring out in this novel is the idea of misinterpretation through miscommunication. We all interpret other people's activities and behaviors so differently. And if we're not talking to each other about it, like, hey, you did this and it really hurt my feelings, and they don't have the opportunity to say, oh, well, I didn't mean it this way, and have a conversation about it.
Some experts chase attention, but the smart ones build authority. You're listening to the Authority on Demand podcast, where credibility becomes your competitive advantage. Every week, we're pulling back the curtain on how founders and leaders turn expertise into inbound demand through books that position, media that converse, and strategies that actually move the needle. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authority on Demand. Now, let's turn your authority into leverage. 25 years. That's how long Cathy Duvert carried her debut novel, The Box, before releasing it into the world last July. 25 years of writing, revising, abandoning, returning. 25 years of teaching teenagers about metaphor and theme while wrestling with her own narrative. Most people would have given up. Most people would have decided this story wasn't worth telling. But here's what makes Cathy's journey so compelling. It's why she's here on Authors on Mission today. She didn't just persist, she transformed. She turned everything into something she couldn't understand about herself, into a fictional story that helped her finally understand her condition and helps people who are in similar shoes. So let's chat about The Box, let's chat about Cathy, and without further ado, well, welcome to the Authors on Mission podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Danielle. And I have to say that intro was really great. It made it sound, you made it sound really, really good.
Hey, real quick before we jump back in, if you're loving what we're doing here, hit that subscribe button and drop us a like. We're bringing you the best authors, the most real conversations, and all the writing wisdom that you didn't know you needed. So stick around because it only gets better from here. All right, now let's get back to the conversation. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I always like to do my research in advance, know who I'm talking to, and you in particular have a story that I think so many people can relate to and learn from. So, that being said, let's chat about that story about you. I mean, I know unfortunately that within the 25 years it took to write this book, you were struggling with depression. I saw from your materials. So, can you tell me a little bit about that and what made you to return to the book time after time and not give up?
Yeah. When I started it in 2002, and I know that that was one of the questions that you had for me, like, why did it take place in 2002? Because that's when I started it. I started in 2002, hoping to get it published in 2002. I started writing it as a way to understand what I was going through. And I didn't understand at the time that I was suffering with depression. And when I was diagnosed with depression, then I knew, okay, that's what my main character has. And I worked on it for probably a good year and a half to 2 years or so. And was that when I became a teacher? I put it aside. There were times when I would put it aside. Talking about depression and suffering with depression at the same time doesn't always vibe. So there were times that it was just too much for me to look through, too much for me to work on. And so I put it aside. And then I did become a teacher, and that took a lot of my time. And when the summer months came, that would have been a perfect time to look at it again and to revise it. There were some years that I did take a look at it and try to revise some and got excited over it again. But for the most part, I just didn't. And there were times when I just left it on the back burner. I know there was at one point I started a blog, which we can talk about later, and that took up a lot of my time. And when I picked up the novel again in 2016, I never let it go. I always thought I will publish this book, I will publish this book, but I didn't always go back to it. But when I picked it up again in 2016, I said to myself, I looked at it and I was like, this is a really good book. I really liked it. And I knew that there was a lot of plot holes and a lot of things that I needed to work on. And so I hired an editor to look through it, and she helped me figure out, what the plot holes were and how I could revise it. And then I spent another few years working on it during the summers, really getting into it, really getting excited about it over again. And then when I was done with it in 2023, I hired another editor, a developmental editor, and she looked through it and she really helped me get all the pieces together. And then that's when I felt like it was done. And I spent a few more months having my sister read it, having a few other people read it before I finally decided that I was going to publish it.
Understood. So yeah, it really has been quite a journey then, kind of
Yeah,
going
yeah,
through it. I'm glad to hear that you got some people on your side throughout the process, like the editor, the publisher. And it always helps to have a team working with you to push you along through all of it, even through the struggles. So
absolutely.
amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, let's dive into the content of the book itself then. I mean, it's so important that we do so. Mia is a fictional character. She discovers a hidden note in a painting from her mother, which sets this entire story in motion. So, without spoiling anything, can you talk about why the painting as a vessel for family secrets? Was there a choice in that?
Yeah, it happened. It wasn't my original idea.
Okay.
So it kind of happened organically as the story moved along. So at first, she found a diary entry from her mother and on her mother's desk, and that's what prompted her to find out more about her mother. But I also had this side story where she meets a painter and she resonates so much with his paintings. And then I thought, well, why not marry the two? Why not have it that it was her mother who had originally bought this painting and given it to her daughter that made her want to learn more about her mother. And so I kind of fused the two ideas and I made the painting as a vessel because I know that there are so many different works of art, paintings that really resonate with people and speak to
Right.
people. And so I wanted to, not only does my main character, Mia, not only does she write and that resonates with her and that's what helps her get all her, stuff out, but I know that different forms of art are different ways to approach people, different ways to connect to people. And I thought this would have been a perfect way to connect to Mia and what she was going through.
Understood. Well, I definitely love it. And you're right that, art and images relate to a lot of people and it helps interpret, like, everyone has their own interpretation of it too. It's a great way to set the stage, I think, and to really connect with the readers. So
Yeah,
really awesome. I love that imagery too.
thank you.
Um, Now, you've described 5 strategies for overcoming depression that helped you and that are woven into Mia's story. So
Mhm.
tell me a little bit about that and how you so naturally like intertwine them within the fictional narrative.
Um, so I found these 5 strategies completely by accident, and I love talking about them. My cousins, two of my cousins, my sister and I would get together and try to, we called each other accountability partners. And one of the things that we did was talk about what meditations and affirmations were helping us to achieve our daily activities. And we started sharing those. And I found that they really resonated with me. It took a while, but then I started feeling like these affirmations and meditations were working for me. And then I started exercising on a regular basis, which helped me. I was writing, always helps me. And what are some of the other things that I do? Motivational videos, I do talk therapy. And so I my main character, Mia, she doesn't do all of those things to help her with her depression, but she does go to therapy. And she even realized in the book that she doesn't allow herself to really give into what her therapist is trying to do for her. But it is something that she continuously does because for a while she does feel like it's helping her, but she knows that she's also keeping a lot back from her therapist. That and towards the end of the book, I have Mia also uh, mo meditating and doing affirmations to help her achieve, this moment, these moments of peace within her depression. So those are the 5 strategies that I use to overcome depression, but I only gave a few of them to Mia because if she had all of them, then we wouldn't have a book where where she's suffering with depression. But yeah, it is mentioned towards the end of the book as well what I do to overcome depression.
Understood. And I like your choice to only include a few, not only because, well, you're right. I mean, you wouldn't have a story otherwise, but also maybe some strategies aren't needed for other people. Maybe they only need some strategies for others. It's all
Mhm.
situational. So that goes to show like Mia's story is unique, but also relatable too.
Absolutely. And I try to always stress that as well, because what may work for one person is not going to work for somebody else. And Mia is a completely, although I use what I experienced with depression to inform Mia's situation and her story, she's a different person than I am. So not the same thing is going to go for her that it did for me.
Understood.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, thank you so much for talking about that. It's clear that you're able to present these strategies about depression in such a way that it almost feels natural to the reader as they're going about reading the story. So,
Mhm.
how do you approach writing about such like sensitive topics like depression, suicide, and isolation in a way that feels authentic, but also being responsible to readers who are struggling? Because it's hard for people who are reading it. I'm sure for you too to write it, but do you have a strategy for handling the sensitive topics?
I try to just write it as I would have wanted to read it, you know? I didn't have a book like this for me to feel like so when I was going through depression, even before I knew and understood it, I really felt like I was alone in the world. I really felt like there was no one in the entire world that would ever understand what I was going through. And so I tried to have Mia voice that feeling. Like, no, she's the only one who's going through it. She's angry about it. She's angry about her life. And I tried to put it as authentically as possible to the way that I was feeling it, right? And
Right.
I did not want to think about, okay, of course I want to be sensitive to other people who are reading it, but I didn't want to cater to that. So I told my truth. I inserted what I felt was sensitive enough for me as a reader to read or to hear. And I felt that that was enough for me to bring it out into the story as what Mia is going through. Now, with that said, I also allude to the idea that the people that she surrounds herself with, they're all going through a form of depression as well. Her best friend Glory is dealing with a family who ignored her. Her sister Nancy is going through the idea that, well, mom loved you better than she loved me because of blah, blah, blah. And her father, who lost his wife, is going through his moments of isolation. So I try to insert a little bit of that different types of depression into each character so that people can kind of see themselves into each character. And I try to do it with a lot of grace and a lot of, understanding of what they're going through and not blaming everything on them.
Understood. No, I love that. And I think it's really clever also that you included multiple characters dealing with their own types because it's all situational. Like I said before, everyone's experiencing different things. That also helps the readers relate to the story that's being told. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I mean, everyone definitely check out this book, get in the know, and connect with it because whether or not you personally are experiencing these symptoms, other people you know might be. So it helps you to open your eyes to it. What's one central message that you hope people get from the book after reading it?
That conversation and communication is key. And I
Mm.
know that's really, really challenging because I struggle through communicating with my family members about what's really hurting me or what they've done that hurt me. But one of the things that I bring out in this novel is the idea of misinterpretation through miscommunication. We all interpret other people's activities and behaviors so differently. And if we're not talking to each other about it, like, hey, you did this and it really hurt my feelings. And they don't have the opportunity to say, oh, well, I didn't mean it this way and have a conversation about it. So one of the most important things is to have a conversation. And that's what I try to bring forth through my novel. Absolutely.
Understood. Yeah. So that's beautiful, guys. We're gonna put the links in the description box of this podcast today, so you can get in the know and collect the book and hear that for yourself within the context. So thank you for that. But
Yeah.
the reason why I'm transitioning now is because you have so many other writing endeavors that I think we'd love to touch upon too. For
Okay.
example, you have a short story collection. So tell us a little bit about that submission into the short story book.
Sure. So I'm part of the Women's Fiction Writers Association, and within that, there are many different subgroups where we meet with each other and share ideas and thoughts. But so this anthology was not my idea. I just like sort of gravitated towards it with a group of women who I regularly meet with. But they had this really smart idea to get together and write stories about kindness, our interpretation of kindness. And so nine of us got together. We wrote stories about kindness, and we shared the stories with each other so that we can help each other edit them. And we put it together in this book. I don't have a copy with me. It's already out on Amazon. It's already available. My copies didn't come in yet, unfortunately, but um, there are some really, really touching, sweet stories in there that really will give you this feeling of hope and kindness in the world, especially when we're coming towards Thanksgiving. And what the women did also was uh, based on what was featured in each story, like some food or some recipe that was featured in a story, we decided to make a companion book
Oh,
called Recipes from Where Kindness Lives. So Where Kindness Lives is the title of the book, and the recipes is a companion book for anyone who wants to buy the actual book. You get a copy of the recipe book for free. And what I've been telling people is to send me an email with their receipt or the proof of purchase, and I'll email them the PDF version of the recipe book, like nine different recipes, a lot from there's Italian recipe, there's one from my background, I'm Haitian, and so there are different recipes that are seem so delicious, and it's just another way to start feeling, these warm feelings of kindness and community when you get these recipes and try them out for yourself. So,
I love that. That's so cool that you have a companion book. I mean, I can imagine somebody making a recipe and then sitting down to read the book while eating that recipe, you know.
right?
So cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. But then also there's your blog to think about too, which you mentioned
Mhm.
earlier. So tell us a little bit about that. That's the Cathy's Cross.
Yes, Cathy's Cross. I had originally started like 10 years ago. I wrote a blog called The True Confessions of a Reluctant Bachelorette. And that was me about like, why am I not married yet? And
Oh,
disaster dates and all that stuff. And then I wanted to write something a little bit more serious. And when I started realizing that the five strategies that I use to overcome depression, when I started realizing them, I wanted to share them. So I created Cathy's Cross, a depressive positive perspective, in a way to talk about what I go through as a depressive and the positive aspects of it. Not aspects, but the positive perspective that I take with them. And I found that they really resonated with some people who sent me emails saying, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that that was what I was going through," or "I thought I
mm,
was the only person." When I realized that I had the language to talk about what I was going through in terms of not only depression but anxiety, I decided to write about it, and I really felt like it was something that I was meant to do to help people who are struggling with depression and who don't really know who to talk to about it and help them, think about what's going on with themselves. So I'm really proud of that one.
absolutely. I mean, I love how it seems to me like you write, right? You have a book, you have your short story, but also you have these companions, right? Like the
Mhm.
recipe book and the blog that helps like give other insights into the topics that you're talking about. So it's just really clever and a great way to build an audience too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was hoping to do. And even in my blog, I started writing about my novels. So, and then just so people can see that I'm not just one place, and I'm hoping to build this platform where people can come and talk to me about what it is they're going through. I'm in no way a therapist or anything, but I do have some experience with what I'm going through, and I'm not really afraid to talk about it. So,
Understood. Yeah, no, definitely a great endeavor that you're partaking in. And I can see that like there's overlapping themes in all of these, especially when you mentioned in Where Kindness Lives, the three messages, trusting ourselves, crawling out of despair, immersing in passion. So tell us a little bit about that. How can finding your passion overcome depression?
well, this is what my theory is. I really feel like as I was writing my novel, The Box, that and I was taking it authentically. Like there were times when I was like in the thick of my depressive feeling, and I would be like, this is really good for my novel. So I would write down exactly how I was feeling. And I really feel like me writing it down sort of helped to expel those demons, that
Mhm.
that icky feeling of depression. And I really feel like once you immerse yourself into something in your passion, whether it's gardening, whether it's writing, whether it's podcasting, like whatever it is, immerse yourself into that. And I really feel like it'll help you understand what it is that's bothering you so that you can talk it out, or get rid of it through your talent, through this passion that you have. I really believe that. It may work for some, it may not work for others, but I really feel like that's a really great starting point. So that's
Absolutely. Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, sorry, did you have something else?
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, I was just agreeing with you because you're right. If you have a creative outlet, it not only allows you to get your ideas out there and express yourself, but it's synthesizing the thoughts
Mhm.
at the same time, which I'm sure is kind of what your writing process was like for this book. As a great segue to transition into the writing process itself, I'm curious to know if you can talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, what was like a daily life of writing for you as you were writing the box?
That's hard to say. I'm going to be
Okay.
completely honest because it took so long, right, for me to finally get
True.
it published, right? And so I remember so my daily life, I'm a teacher, and so I spend a lot of my time writing lesson plans and grading and stuff like that. But when I do take the time, and I had to really work it into my schedule, I had to make it a priority, especially on the weekends. I used to get up. Some people think I'm crazy, but I used to get up like really early, like a quarter to 5 in the morning, because I
Mhm.
really felt like that's when I was the most creative. And I would get up really early. I would write, 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 write. And then there would be time when I was able to walk my dog. But I felt like in the morning when there's no distraction, everybody's still asleep. It's dark out. It was just me and the page. And I really felt like that's when I was my most creative. And I loved those moments. And during the day, I would answer emails, trying to get creative with my blog. I would probably do some promotion work for my Instagram or Facebook or whatever. But it was I remember waking up very early in the morning to get those words on page, or to revise or any of that. And I really really like those moments, just me by myself and nothing or nobody else.
Understood. Yeah. And I think that everybody has their own method of doing so. Some people like writing at night, some people like in the mornings. And I
Hmm.
don't think you're crazy. You got to find the right time that works best for you. And
Yeah.
I like to write in the morning sometimes too when I'm able to get up. But, it's
Mhm.
something about like hearing the world wake up around you as you're
Mhm.
writing that adds the inspiration.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess I'm curious to know then too. I mean, being that you did have a lot of difficult days dealing with, the stress of teaching and mental health struggles and, finding the time for this, how do you convince yourself to return to the writing time and time out? Is it a matter of the message or something else?
Well, you have to really schedule it in, I think. For me, yeah, coming home from work after a stressful day teaching and all that, I would have to immerse myself back into work, like the lesson plan. Okay, what am I doing tomorrow with my students? So I would make sure that Saturdays, they were my boundaries, right? I would work on my writing on Saturdays for the most part, and I knew that that would be the day. So coming home from work, I know that I have to get some writing done. If I didn't get some writing done, that would be okay because I knew that Saturday would be my day. There were times when early in the morning, when I parked. I tend to have to get to work very, very early to get a good parking spot because there's not a lot of great parking spots in the area. So while I'm waiting in the car for the school building to open, I'm writing or I'm reading or I'm doing something creative. So I had to take those moments for myself and looking forward to doing it again in the next morning in writing. And then sometimes when I write something in the morning and I know that I can come back to it later in the evening, and that would really get me, excited to get back home and get writing on it, get working on it.
Right. Understood. So it sounds like a very carefully curated process, like figuring out like what's the steps to take to kind of get there. And it
Yeah.
clearly you found that. So that's wonderful. And hopefully a lot of
Yeah.
people can learn from that too.
Thanks.
Um, Now that you have all of this though, your book, your short story, your blog, what's next for you? Have you considered any other projects now that the book's on the shelves?
I have. So one project that I have been working on for quite some time is getting all my blog posts together to put it into a journal, right? Some form of journal. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but that's an idea that I really like, and I think that would resonate with a lot of people. And also another idea that I have is a new novel about, it's not going to have anything to do with depression, but it'll be about a pair of twins, Haitian American twins, who are struggling with their identity and their mother's illness and their father's disappearance. So I really feel like that's going to be a really big book for me. And also, I'm going to work with my sister on an anthology. So the women's anthology that I was just a part of has inspired me to create an anthology, this time with Haitian authors and just, talking about culture and in our Haitian background. And I haven't really fleshed out that idea yet, but I'm really excited to be working with my sister on that one.
That's exciting. Well, wow,
Yeah,
that's so many different projects, so many things to be
I know.
excited about. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you also get to work with your sister too, having a
Yeah.
crime as you go through it.
Yeah.
So where can people get in touch to learn more about these projects as they develop?
Sure. So my website is cathelinaduvert.com, and I people can message me there, and I get it straight into my email, or you can go on to Instagram. It's Cathelina Duvert is my tag on Instagram, and those are the two places where I am mostly, and people can message me directly on my email as well.
Understood. Okay. Well, guys, we're going to put the link in the description box of this podcast today so you can go over, check it out, and get in the know. I love that. Um, this has been such an inspiring conversation. I really appreciate you coming on and telling us all about your book and your theories and writing practices and your struggle, your journey as
Yeah.
well. Um, so, as we begin to wrap up, what's one bit of advice that you'd like to leave the audience with today? What do you think?
Um, Great question. One piece of advice is just find your passion. Find your passion, follow it. You never know where it's going to take you. I never knew I'd be doing all these podcasts and meeting people and going to different shows and stuff like that. It's just a whole new world that's opened up for me, and it scares me, but that's why I know that I need to do it. So,
Understood. Okay,
yeah.
so that's something we can all learn from. And here you are now. You're able to talk to these people and meet these people and see new things every day. And so it's a matter of just like keep pushing forward, right? Don't give
Mhm.
up and keep going.
Yeah.
So beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Danielle, so much for allowing me to be on your platform. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Of course, and thank you for chatting with us. I think our listeners learned a lot about writing because of that. So, and to all of our listeners, also, the box is available now. You can find it wherever books are sold. The links are in the description box as well. And you can also check out Where Kindness Lives and Cathy's Cross as well. And just thank you for listening to our podcast today. If the conversation resonated with you, well, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. And remember that your story matters, your struggle matters, and sometimes the book that takes 25 years to write is exactly the book the world needs. So until next time, keep writing, keep creating, and keep trusting your mission. We'll see you next time, everybody. That's a wrap on another episode of the Authority on Demand podcast. If today's conversation sparked something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with a founder or leader who's ready to stop being the best kept secret in their industry. If you want to turn your expertise into inbound demand, head to authorityondemand.com to see how we help clients go from unknown to in demand. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, and I'll catch you on the next one. Now, go build some authority.